Welcome to the Critical Thinking Literacy Channel's Attack on Reason series. I'm John Balla. In this video, we examine the No True Scotsman Fallacy.
The name comes from a classic example. No Scotsman puts sugar on his porridge. When shown a Scotsman who does, the claimant retorts, well, no true Scotsman does.
And there you have it. Now let's look at some real-world examples of the No True Scotsman in action. Liz Cheney is not a real Republican. The move. After U.S. Representative Liz Cheney voted to impeach Trump and joined the January 6 Select Committee, the RNC censured her in February 2022, accusing her of advancing a political agenda favorable to Democrats. Trump himself called her a warmonger and a disloyal Republican. Why it's a fallacy. Cheney's lifetime score with the Heritage Foundation's conservative scorecard was 80%. She voted with Trump 92.9% of the time during his presidency. What changed was the definition of real Republican, retroactively rewritten to require loyalty to Trump specifically, so that her counterexample could be dismissed without engaging her arguments. The tell, Elise Stefanik, who replaced Cheney in House GOP leadership, held a Heritage Action score of 48%, nearly half of Cheney's. Under the logic of the fallacy, the more Republican replacement was measurably less conservative by every traditional metric. Bernie Sanders isn't a real socialist. The move. Sanders ran twice for president, identifying as a democratic socialist. Academics, political scientists, and even fellow progressives publicly argued he was not a real socialist because a true socialist advocates for public ownership of the means of production, which Sanders did not. Why it's a fallacy. Sanders self-identified as a democratic socialist for decades. The counterexample, that his platform was reformist rather than revolutionary, was used not to simply clarify a label, but to exclude him from the category after the fact, protecting an idealized definition of real socialism from the inconvenience of its most prominent American practitioner. The broader significance. Both the right and the left deployed the move simultaneously. The right claimed Sanders was a dangerous socialist. The left claimed he wasn't socialist enough. Both used the fallacy to dismiss him as a counterexample to their preferred definition of the group. January 6th, rioters were not real Trump supporters. The move. In the immediate aftermath of January 6th, multiple Republican figures, including Representative Mo Brooks, who had spoken at the rally, claimed the rioters were actually Antifa infiltrators or provocateurs, not genuine Trump supporters. This was the argument's explicit structure. Real Trump supporters would not do this. These people did this. Therefore, these people are not real Trump supporters. Why it's a fallacy? Federal prosecutions ultimately confirmed that the overwhelming majority of those charged were documented Trump supporters, many of whom had attended his rally that day. Over 1,200 individuals were charged. Judges, prosecutors, and defendants' own statements confirmed their motivations. The Antifa claim was investigated and found to have no evidentiary basis. The fallacy was deployed in real time, before any evidence existed, precisely to protect the generalization Trump supporters are patriots from the counterexample standing on the Capitol steps. Sometimes when a logical fallacy gets exposed, the person committing it doesn't correct the error. They try to protect it. So what happens if someone doubles down on a No True Scotsman fallacy instead of abandoning it? Welcome to the Ad Hoc Rescue. An ad hoc rescue occurs when someone tries to defend their original claim by adding a new exception or qualification designed solely to shield the claim from criticism. In other words, the person responds to one No True Scotsman move by making another one. And for that, we have a now infamous example. J.D. Vance's childless cat ladies comment, an unforced error that quickly became a case study in how rhetorical defenses can spiral when the original claim starts to unravel. Here's the quote, "We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made." Why this is a No True Scotsman fallacy. Vance begins with an implicit universal claim that having a genuine stake in America's future requires having biological children. When confronted with obvious counterexamples, VP Kamala Harris, a stepmother of two, Pete Buttigieg, an adoptive father, or the millions of childless Americans who clearly do invest in civic life, Vance doesn't revise his claim. Instead, as his fundraising emails made explicit, he labeled childless political opponents childless sociopaths who don't have a direct stake in this country, retroactively redefining who counts as a truly invested American citizen in order to exclude them. The goalposts shift. When Harris's stepchildren were pointed out, Vance pivoted to say she hadn't crossed some other threshold of ideological commitment to family. Each counterexample gets excluded by further narrowing the definition, which is the NTS fallacy's defining move. Then, while trying to clean up his now infamous childless cat ladies, quote, Vance does it again, this time saying, there are a whole host of people who don't have children for a whole host of reasons, and they certainly are great people who can participate fully in the life of this country. So this is not a criticism and was never a criticism of everybody without children. That is a lie of the left. It is a criticism of the increasingly anti-parents and anti-child attitude of the left. This is yet another No True Scotsman fallacy. This time Vance redefines his original category yet again. The problem is no longer childlessness per se, but an attitude toward children. This is a classic Ad Hoc Rescue. The original generalization, childless people have no stake, was falsified by obvious counterexamples. So rather than retracting, Vance shifts what the true criterion actually is. This second layer, No True Scotsman fallacy, is particularly valuable to study because it shows how the fallacy compounds. Each falsification triggers a new redefinition rather than an honest revision. Democracy is only as strong as the information we accept as truth. By refusing to let fallacies go unchallenged, you aren't just winning an argument, you're doing your part to keep our public discourse honest. Critical thinking isn't just a personal skill, it's a civic duty. Stay curious, choose wisely, and I'll see you in the next video.